The notification appeared on my phone screen like a lightning bolt cutting through an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was walking across the quad at Colorado State University, backpack heavy with textbooks, when the email from Tech Venture Capital made my steps falter. Congratulations, Alex Thompson. We're pleased to inform you that StreamlineFlow has been selected for our accelerator program, with an initial investment offer of $2 million. My hands shook as I read the words again, the autumn leaves crunching under my feet as students hurried past me toward their morning classes. $2 million. The productivity software I'd been developing in my dorm room for the past 18 months, surviving on ramen noodles and caffeine, had just become worth more money than my family had ever dreamed of seeing. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The irony wasn't lost on me that this life-changing moment happened exactly 3 weeks before my college graduation, the same graduation my parents had already informed me they might miss because of Tyler's soccer tournament. But standing there in the crisp Colorado morning, staring at an email that would change everything, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years when it came to my family. Hope. Genuine, terrifying hope that maybe this would be different. Maybe an achievement this significant would finally break through their tunnel vision and show them that their older child had been worth paying attention to all along. The Tech Venture Capital offices in downtown Denver felt like stepping into a different universe. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the Rocky Mountains in the distance, while inside sleek conference rooms buzzed with the energy of innovation and enormous financial decisions. Ryan Kim, my business partner and the coding genius behind StreamlineFlow's user interface, sat beside me as we listened to 3 venture capitalists explain how our little productivity app had caught their attention. The lead investor, a woman named Patricia Hendricks with silver hair and sharp eyes, leaned forward across the polished conference table. "Your software addresses a genuine pain point in the market," she said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had built and sold multiple companies. "Small businesses are drowning in inefficient workflow systems, and StreamlineFlow offers an elegant solution at a price point they can actually afford. We're seeing adoption rates that exceed anything we've projected for similar platforms." She paused, glancing at her tablet before continuing. "Which is why we're prepared to offer you $2 million for a 30% stake in the company, plus ongoing operational support to scale nationwide within 18 months. I tried to keep my expression professional even as my heart hammered against my ribs. Ryan's leg bounced under the table, the only outward sign of his excitement. We'd dreamed of this moment since we started coding together in the basement of the business building, but the reality felt surreal. $2 million would mean I could pay off my student loans immediately, help my parents with their mortgage, and still have enough left to fund StreamlineFlow's expansion without worrying about my next meal. The meeting lasted 3 hours, covering everything from intellectual property rights to marketing strategies to the timeline for rolling out new features. By the time we shook hands and scheduled our follow-up meeting for the following week, my phone showed 14 missed calls from Tyler and 6 text messages asking where I was. I'd completely forgotten that I'd promised to pick him up from soccer practice, too caught up in the magnitude of what was happening to my future. Driving back to Riverside in my ancient Honda Civic, I rehearsed different ways to share the news with my family. The 2-hour drive from Denver to our small town gave me plenty of time to imagine their reactions. My father, Mark, looking up from his insurance paperwork with genuine surprise and pride. My mother, Jennifer, putting down her real estate listings to really listen for once. Tyler, maybe understanding that his older sibling had been working towards something significant all these years. The house on Maple Street looked exactly the same as always when I pulled into the driveway, but I felt like I was seeing it through different eyes. The modest 2-story structure with its blue vinyl siding and carefully maintained flower beds represented everything I was about to leave behind. Not just physically when I moved to Denver to manage StreamlineFlow's operations, but emotionally. This achievement felt like a bridge between the kid who had grown up here, always competing for attention with Tyler's athletic accomplishments, and the adult I was becoming who could succeed on my own terms. Tyler was shooting goals against the garage door when I arrived, his soccer ball thudding rhythmically against the metal. At 17, he had grown into the kind of naturally gifted athlete that college scouts noticed, with the easy confidence that came from being consistently celebrated for his talents. He waved when he saw me but continued practicing, his focus laser sharp as he worked on corner kicks. I watched him for a moment, remembering when we used to play together in this same driveway, before our paths diverged so completely. Mom's inside freaking out about graduation seating. Tyler called out between kicks, something about hotel reservations and whether Dad can get time off work. He paused his practice to look at me directly. You know the state tournament semifinals are the same weekend, right? Coach says college recruiters from 3 different schools are coming to watch me play. The familiar knot formed in my stomach, the same sensation I'd experienced countless times over the years when family schedules collided with my important events. But this time, I had ammunition. This time, I had news that would surely shift their priorities and show them that my achievements mattered just as much as Tyler's athletic career. Inside, my parents sat at the kitchen table surrounded by paperwork, their laptops open to different travel booking websites. My mother's real estate license renewal materials competed for space with my father's insurance policy files, creating their usual organized chaos of professional responsibilities. They looked up when I entered, both wearing expressions of mild stress that had become their default when juggling multiple family obligations. There you are, my mother said, not looking up from her screen. We're trying to figure out logistics for graduation weekend. Tyler's tournament is in Colorado Springs, which is only 2 hours from Fort Collins, so theoretically we could make both events work, but the timing is going to be incredibly tight. My father rubbed his temples, a gesture I recognized from years of watching him balance competing demands on his time and attention. The semifinals start at 10 in the morning, and if Tyler's team advances, the championship game would be Sunday afternoon. Your graduation ceremony is Saturday at 2, right? I nodded, feeling the familiar sensation of being scheduled around rather than prioritized. Actually, I have some news that might help put things in perspective, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I just came from a meeting in Denver with venture capitalists. They want to invest $2 million in the software company Ryan and I have been building. The words hung in the air for what felt like an eternity. My mother's fingers paused over her keyboard, and my father's hand stopped mid-temple rub. Tyler appeared in the doorway, apparently having followed me inside, his soccer ball still tucked under his arm. $2 million, my mother repeated slowly, as if testing the words to see if they made sense. Alex, that's wonderful, but are you sure this is legitimate? There are so many scams targeting college students these days. The response hit me like cold water. Not congratulations, not excitement, not even curiosity about what I had built, or how I had attracted serious investor attention. Instead, immediate skepticism and concern that I might be falling for some elaborate con game. It's completely legitimate, I said, pulling out my phone to show them the official email from Tech Venture Capital. They've been tracking our user growth for months. StreamlineFlow has over 15,000 active users across 12 states, and our revenue growth has been consistent for 8 straight quarters. My father leaned forward to look at my phone screen, his expression shifting from skepticism to cautious interest. This is the productivity software you've been working on in your dorm room. The thing you mentioned a few times but never.
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story.
Really explained. The sting of that observation cut deeper than I expected. I had mentioned StreamlineFlow dozens of times over the past year and a half, sharing user milestones and development updates whenever I called home. But those conversations had always been brief, often interrupted by discussions of Tyler's latest soccer achievements or my parents' work obligations. They had listened politely but never asked follow-up questions, never shown genuine curiosity about what I was building or why it mattered. I've been developing it with Ryan Kim since sophomore year, I explained, fighting to keep my voice level. We started with a simple workflow automation tool and expanded it based on user feedback. Small businesses use it to streamline their operations, reduce administrative overhead, and improve team communication. The venture capital firm sees potential for national expansion. Tyler moved closer, his athletic confidence translating into genuine curiosity about something outside his usual sphere. $2 million, though. That's real money, not just college project money. It's real, I confirmed, appreciating that at least someone in the family grasped the magnitude of what was happening. The investment gives them a 30% stake in the company, but Ryan and I retain majority control and operational authority. Plus, they're providing marketing support and industry connections to help us scale. My mother closed her laptop with a sharp click, her real estate agent instincts apparently kicking in. Alex, this is incredible, truly, but we need to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of. Have you had a lawyer review any contracts? What about tax implications? And how does this affect your job prospects after graduation? Each question felt like a deflection, a way to turn my moment of triumph into a problem that needed to be managed rather than a success worth celebrating. I had expected surprise, maybe even disbelief, but I had hoped for excitement, for pride, for some acknowledgement that their older child had accomplished something extraordinary. I've consulted with the university's business law clinic, I said, my tone becoming more formal, as I realized this conversation was not going the direction I had hoped. Everything is being handled properly. The investment is structured to protect our interests, while providing the capital we need for expansion. My father nodded slowly, his insurance background making him naturally cautious about financial matters. That's smart, and this doesn't interfere with graduation. You're still planning to finish your degree? The question revealed how little they understood about what I had built. StreamlineFlow wasn't a distraction from my education, it was the practical application of everything I had learned in business school. The venture capital investment wasn't just money, it was validation that my years of hard work and strategic thinking had produced something valuable enough for serious investors to bet millions of dollars on its success. Graduation is still happening, I said carefully. In fact, this investment makes my degree even more valuable. I'll be running a multi-million-dollar company while having the credentials to back up my business decisions. The room fell quiet, except for the rhythmic thudding of Tyler's soccer ball against his foot as he processed everything he was hearing. My parents exchanged one of their wordless spousal communications, the kind of glance that conveyed entire conversations without saying anything aloud. "We're proud of you, sweetheart," my mother finally said, her voice carrying the careful tone she used with difficult real estate clients. "This is a big opportunity, and we want to make sure you're prepared for all the responsibilities that come with it." The response felt hollow, technically supportive but lacking the genuine enthusiasm I had hoped for. It was the same tone they used when acknowledging my academic achievements over the years, polite recognition without emotional investment. Meanwhile, Tyler's soccer games generated passionate discussions about strategy, performance, and potential. His tournament victories were celebrated with special dinners and social media posts celebrating their talented athlete son. "Actually," Tyler said, breaking the awkward silence, "this is pretty cool. My sister's going to be running a real company. That's definitely worth bragging about at school." His casual use of the word bragging highlighted something I hadn't fully realized until that moment. My achievements had never been sources of family pride worth sharing with others. When neighbors asked about their children, my parents talked about Tyler's athletic scholarships and recruitment letters. My academic honors, internship offers, and now business success were private accomplishments that didn't warrant public celebration. That evening, I called Casey Williams, my roommate and closest friend since freshman year, to share the news. Her reaction was everything my family's had not been: immediate excitement, genuine questions about my plans, and unqualified enthusiasm for what this meant for my future. She insisted on taking me out to the grind to celebrate, where we spent 3 hours talking through the details of the investment and what it would mean for StreamlineFlow's development. "Your parents don't get it," Casey said bluntly over her third coffee. "They're still thinking of you as their college student daughter who needs protection from big decisions. They don't see that you've already been making big decisions successfully for months." Her observation stung because it was accurate. Despite my academic achievements, my internship experience, and now my entrepreneurial success, my family still saw me through the lens of their cautious parental concern, rather than recognizing my demonstrated competence and judgment. The next morning brought a text from my mother asking if I needed help finding a real job for after graduation, just in case the startup thing didn't work out. The message revealed how little she understood about what had happened the day before. This wasn't a college side project that might or might not succeed. It was a proven business with paying customers and serious investor backing. I spent the following week diving deeper into preparation for StreamlineFlow's expansion, working with Ryan to develop our scaling timeline and identify key personnel we would need to hire. The venture capital team introduced us to marketing consultants, legal specialists, and industry experts who could help us navigate the transition from startup to established company. Each meeting reinforced that this was not some college fantasy, but a legitimate business opportunity with real growth potential. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed regularly with updates about Tyler's soccer season. Group texts from my parents kept me informed about his performance statistics, upcoming tournament schedules, and college recruitment meetings. The contrast between their detailed attention to his athletic career and their superficial acknowledgement of my business success became more stark with each passing day. Professor David Martinez, my business mentor and the faculty advisor, who had encouraged me to pursue the venture capital presentation, stopped me after class on Thursday to ask how my family was handling the news. When I described their lukewarm response, his expression shifted to something between sympathy and frustration. "Alex, you've accomplished something that most entrepreneurs spend decades working toward," he said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had built multiple successful companies before entering academia. "This level of investor interest, at your age, with this kind of valuation, is extraordinary. If your family can't recognize that, it says more about their limitations than your achievements." His words were validating but also painful, because they confirmed what I was beginning to understand about my family dynamics. Their ability to celebrate Tyler's athletic accomplishments while remaining lukewarm about my business success revealed a fundamental difference in how they valued different types of achievement. That weekend, I drove to Tyler's soccer game against Riverside's biggest rival, hoping that family time might help bridge the gap between my big news and their muted response. The stands were packed with parents, students, and college scouts, all focused on the action unfolding on the field. My parents sat in their usual spot, tracking Tyler's every move with intense concentration, cheering his successful plays and analyzing his strategic decisions with the expertise of longtime soccer fans. Watching them in their element, completely absorbed in Tyler's performance, I understood something that had been building in my consciousness for years. This was where their passion lived. This was what generated their genuine excitement and emotional investment. Tyler's athletic career wasn't just important to them, it was the source of their pride as parents, their connection to community status, and their vision of family success. When Tyler scored the winning goal with 3 minutes left in regulation, my parents erupted in celebration along with the rest of the crowd. My mother immediately started taking photos and videos to share on social media, while my father called out congratulations and strategy compliments. Their joy was infectious and completely genuine, the kind of unbridled parental pride that I had spent years hoping to inspire with my own achievements. After the game, Tyler jogged over to the stands, still buzzing with adrenaline from his performance. "Did you see that corner kick in the second half?" he asked me, his face glowing with satisfaction. "Coach says the recruiter from Colorado College was taking notes the whole time. You played brilliantly," I told him honestly. That winning goal was textbook perfect. As we walked back to the parking lot, Tyler surprised me by bringing up my business news again. "I've been thinking about what you said about StreamlineFlow," he said. $2 million is insane money. Are you nervous about running a real company?" The question revealed something important. Tyler was genuinely curious about my achievement and its implications. Unlike our parents, who had responded with caution and skepticism, he seemed to grasp the magnitude of what was happening and wanted to understand how it felt from my perspective. Terrified and excited in equal measure, I admitted. "But it's the kind of challenge I've been preparing for throughout college. Everything I've learned about business strategy, market analysis, and team management is going to get tested in real time." Tyler nodded thoughtfully. "Kind of like when coach moved me to starting forward sophomore year. Scary but also exactly what I'd been working toward." The comparison helped me understand something about our family dynamics that I hadn't fully grasped before. Tyler's athletic achievements were easily understood and celebrated because they fit into familiar frameworks of competition, teamwork, and measurable success. My business accomplishments were more abstract, harder for my parents to evaluate or get excited about because they existed outside their personal experience and comfort zones. That realization didn't make their lukewarm response hurt any less, but it helped me understand that their reaction was more about their limitations than my achievements. They weren't deliberately dismissing my success, they simply didn't have the context to fully appreciate what I had accomplished or what it meant for my future. The week before graduation brought a flurry of family planning conversations, most of which happened in group texts that I received but wasn't actively included in. My parents and Tyler debated travel logistics, hotel reservations, and the timing challenges of attending both my graduation ceremony and Tyler's tournament semifinals. Each message reinforced that my graduation was being accommodated rather than prioritized, scheduled around the more important family obligation of Tyler's soccer career. On Wednesday evening, my father called with what he presented as good news about their graduation weekend plans. "We've figured out the logistics," he announced, his voice carrying the satisfaction of someone who had solved a complex puzzle. "Mom and I can drive up to Fort Collins Saturday morning, catch your graduation ceremony, and then head straight to Colorado Springs for Tyler's game Sunday morning. It'll be tight, but we can make both events work." The plan felt like a compromise that prioritized Tyler's tournament while making minimal accommodation for my graduation. They would attend my ceremony, fulfill their parental obligation, and then rush off to the event that really mattered to them. There would be no celebration dinner, no time to meet my friends or professors, no opportunity to share in the significance of what graduation represented for my future. "That sounds like a lot of driving," I said carefully, not wanting to seem ungrateful, but also not wanting to pretend I was satisfied with being squeezed into their schedule. "It'll be worth it to support both of our kids." My mother's voice came through the phone on speaker. "We wouldn't miss your graduation for anything." The phrase stung because it felt performative rather than genuine. They were attending because missing their child's college graduation would look bad, not because they were genuinely excited to celebrate my achievements or spend time marking this milestone in my life. That night, I sat in my dorm room, looking at the framed photo of my family from Tyler's state championship victory 2 years earlier. My parents flanked Tyler in the center, all three of them beaming with genuine joy and pride. I stood slightly off to the side, smiling but clearly peripheral to the main celebration. The photo captured something essential about our family dynamics that I had never fully acknowledged until now. Casey found me there an hour later, staring at family photos and trying to process the complicated emotions surrounding graduation weekend. "You know you don't have to pretend this is okay," she said gently, settling onto her bed across from me. "It's okay to be hurt that they're treating your graduation like an inconvenience." Her permission to feel disappointed was exactly what I needed. I had spent so many years trying to be the understanding, low-maintenance child who didn't compete with Tyler for attention or create additional stress for my parents, but understanding their limitations didn't mean I had to accept being consistently undervalued or marginalized in family priorities. "I keep thinking about how different this would be if Tyler were graduating," I admitted. "They would plan a whole weekend around celebrating him. There would be a special dinner, family photos, maybe even a party with relatives." Casey nodded knowingly, "and they definitely wouldn't schedule it around your academic competitions or business meetings." The comparison highlighted the fundamental unfairness of how our achievements were valued within the family structure. Tyler's athletic success generated genuine excitement and celebration, while my academic and business accomplishments were acknowledged politely but never truly celebrated. Friday afternoon brought the devastating phone call that would change everything about graduation weekend and my relationship with my family forever. Friday afternoon brought the devastating phone call that would change everything about graduation weekend and my relationship with my family forever. I was in the middle of my final business law exam when my phone vibrated against my leg. Professor Chen had a strict no-phones policy during exams, but something about the persistent buzzing made me glance down at the screen. Tyler's name flashed repeatedly, followed immediately by my mother's contact. The urgency felt different from their usual check-ins, more frantic and insistent. After finishing my exam and walking out of the business building, I returned Tyler's call first. His voice carried an excitement I hadn't heard since his state championship game junior year. "Alex, you're not going to believe this," he said, words tumbling over each other in his rush to share the news. "Coach just got off the phone with the University of Denver soccer program. They want to offer me a full-ride scholarship, but there's a catch." My stomach dropped before he even explained the catch, some instinct warning me that whatever came next would not be good news for graduation weekend. I found myself sitting down on one of the concrete benches outside the business building, preparing for impact. "The head coach can only be at our tournament this weekend," Tyler continued, his voice bubbling with barely contained enthusiasm. "He's flying out to California Sunday night for another recruitment event, so this is literally my only shot to impress him in person. Mom and Dad are freaking out because they think this could change my entire future." The University of Denver was Tyler's dream school, a Division I soccer program with an excellent reputation and the kind of coaching staff that produced professional players. I understood immediately why this opportunity felt monumental to him, and why our parents would view it as absolutely critical to his future success. "That's incredible, Tyler," I said, meaning it despite the sinking feeling in my chest. "A full ride to DU would be amazing for you. But here's the thing," Tyler's voice shifted, becoming more cautious. "The championship game is Sunday at 2, if we make it through semifinals. That's the exact same time as your graduation ceremony. Mom and Dad are trying to figure out if there's any way to make both events work, but the timing is impossible." The cruel irony wasn't lost on me. My graduation ceremony, the culmination of 4 years of academic excellence and the launching pad for my multi-million-dollar business venture, was scheduled for the exact same time as Tyler's potential scholarship-securing soccer championship. Even if our parents had genuinely wanted to prioritize both events equally, the universe had conspired to force them into an impossible choice. "What are Mom and Dad thinking?" I asked, though I already knew the answer based on years of similar situations where Tyler's athletic opportunities had taken precedence over my academic achievements. Tyler hesitated before answering, and in that pause, I heard everything I needed to know about how this decision was going to unfold. "They're really torn," he said finally, which was Tyler speak, for they had already decided, but didn't want to hurt my feelings by stating it directly.
They keep saying maybe the semifinals will run long and push the championship game later, or maybe your graduation ceremony will start early, but realistically, they're going to choose your tournament. I finished for him, surprised by how steady my voice sounded, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. Alex, I'm really sorry. I know how important graduation is to you, especially with everything happening with your business. But this scholarship opportunity came out of nowhere, and coach says the University of Denver almost never offers full rides to players they haven't been tracking for years. Tyler's apology was genuine, and I could hear in his voice that he understood the unfairness of the situation. He hadn't asked for this timing conflict, and he certainly hadn't requested that our parents consistently prioritize his achievements over mine. But that understanding didn't change the practical reality that once again, my milestone would be sacrificed for his opportunity. My phone buzzed with an incoming call from my mother before I could respond to Tyler. I should take this, I told him. Congratulations on the scholarship opportunity. I really do hope it works out for you. Alex, honey, my mother's voice
Carried the strained brightness she used when delivering bad news she wanted to frame as reasonable. Tyler told you about the University of Denver situation? We're trying to figure out the best way to handle this weekend. I waited for her to continue, some part of me still hoping that she would surprise me by suggesting they split up, with one parent attending each event, or that they would find some creative solution that honored both of their children's important moments. The thing is, she continued, her real estate agent negotiation skills evident in how she structured her argument, your graduation ceremony will be live streamed so we can watch it online and see you walk across the stage. But Tyler's championship game, if they make it that far, is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for college recruitment. The comparison felt like a physical blow. My graduation ceremony, the culmination of 4 years of academic excellence and the official recognition of achievements that had attracted $2 million in venture capital investment, was being reduced to something that could be adequately experienced through an internet live stream. Meanwhile, Tyler's soccer game was positioned as irreplaceable and requiring their physical presence. I understand the scholarship is important, I said carefully, trying to keep my voice neutral even as disappointment and frustration built in my chest. But my graduation is also a once-in-a-lifetime event. I'm the first person in our family to graduate summa cum laude, and I'll be giving a speech as the business school's outstanding senior. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched long enough that I wondered if the call had dropped. When my mother finally responded, her tone had shifted to the patient voice she used with unreasonable real estate clients who didn't understand market realities. Of course your graduation is important, sweetheart. We're incredibly proud of everything you've accomplished, but you have to understand that Tyler's been working toward this scholarship opportunity for years, and this might be his only chance to impress the University of Denver coaching staff. The implication was clear. Tyler's years of athletic training and development were more valuable and deserving of family support than my years of academic excellence and business innovation. His potential future success outweighed my demonstrated achievements, even though I had already secured my post-graduation career path with the venture capital investment. What about Dad? I asked, grasping for any possibility that at least one parent might prioritize my graduation. Could he come to Fort Collins while you go to Colorado Springs with Tyler? Another pause, shorter this time but equally telling. Your father feels strongly that we should support Tyler as a united front. College soccer recruitment is so competitive, and having both parents there sends a message about our family's commitment to his success. The phrase united front hit me like a slap. They had discussed this decision together and concluded that Tyler's tournament required both parents' attendance, while my graduation could be handled with a live stream view and perhaps a congratulatory phone call afterward. The message about family priorities couldn't have been clearer if they had drawn a diagram. I see, I said, my voice becoming more formal as I processed the reality of what was happening. So you've decided to skip my graduation entirely? We're not skipping it, my mother protested, though her protest sounded weak even to her own ears. We'll be watching online and we'll call you immediately afterward to congratulate you, plus we can plan a celebration dinner when you come home next weekend. The suggestion of a delayed celebration dinner felt like a consolation prize, something to make them feel better about their choice rather than something that would genuinely honor my achievement. By next weekend, the significance of graduation would have faded, replaced by whatever new developments emerged in Tyler's soccer career or my parents' work obligations. "I need to go," I said, suddenly feeling exhausted by the conversation and the familiar pattern it represented. "I have to prepare for tomorrow's ceremony." "Alex, please don't be upset about this." My mother's voice took on a pleading quality that made the situation even more painful. "You know we love you and we're proud of your accomplishments. This is just an unfortunate timing conflict that we're trying to handle as best we can." But it wasn't just an unfortunate timing conflict, and we both knew it. This was the latest in a long series of decisions that revealed my parents' fundamental priorities when it came to their children's achievements. Tyler's soccer had consistently taken precedence over my academic success, his recruitment opportunities over my scholarship awards, his tournament victories over my business innovations. After hanging up, I sat on that concrete bench for nearly an hour, watching students walk past me toward dormitories and off-campus apartments, all of them presumably excited about graduation weekend and the family celebrations that awaited them. The contrast between their anticipated joy and my hollow disappointment felt almost absurd. Casey found me there as the sun began to set, having tracked me down after I failed to meet her for our planned dinner. She took one look at my face and immediately understood that something significant had happened. "Family drama?" she asked, settling beside me on the bench without waiting for permission. I explained the University of Denver scholarship opportunity, the timing conflict with graduation, and my parents' decision to prioritize Tyler's tournament over my ceremony. Casey listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from sympathy to anger as the full scope of the situation became clear. "They're not coming to your graduation at all?" she asked when I finished explaining. "Not even splitting up so one parent can be here? Apparently Tyler needs a united front for his recruitment opportunity," I said, the bitter edge in my voice surprising even me. "My graduation can be adequately experienced through livestream according to my mother." Casey was quiet for several minutes, processing what I had told her with the thoughtful consideration that made her such a valuable friend. Finally, she turned to face me directly, her expression serious but supportive. "Alex, I need to ask you something, and I want you to really think about your answer," she said. "How many times have your parents missed your important events for Tyler's sports?" The question hit harder than I expected because it forced me to confront a pattern I had been avoiding acknowledging for years. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I've never actually counted." "Maybe you should," Casey suggested gently. "Not to torture yourself, but because I think you need to see the full scope of what's been happening in your family dynamics." That evening I returned to my dorm room and did something I had never done before, began systematically documenting every significant academic achievement, award ceremony and milestone event from my high school and college years, along with whether my parents had attended. The process took 3 hours and filled 12 pages of notebook paper with dates, events, and attendance records. The pattern that emerged was both illuminating and devastating. Over the past 6 years, I had participated in 43 significant academic or extracurricular events that warranted family attendance. My parents had been present for 11 of them. During the same time period, Tyler had participated in 38 soccer-related events, tournaments, and ceremonies. My parents had attended 36 of them. The 2 Tyler events they had missed were both due to work emergencies that couldn't be rescheduled, a major insurance claim that required my father's immediate attention, and a real estate closing that my mother couldn't postpone. Even their absences from Tyler's events were treated as genuine disappointments that required extensive apologies and make-up celebrations. Meanwhile, my parents had missed my high school graduation speech as salutatorian because Tyler had a regional tournament. They had skipped my induction into the National Honor Society because Tyler's team was playing for the state championship. They had been absent from my college acceptance celebration because Tyler was attending a recruitment camp. The documentation process forced me to confront not just the numerical disparity in their attendance, but the qualitative difference in how they approached our respective achievements. Tyler's soccer events were scheduled into their calendars months in advance, with backup plans and alternative arrangements to ensure their attendance. My academic events were accommodated when convenient and sacrificed when conflicts arose. More painfully, I realized that I had internalized this prioritization and learned to expect less family support for my achievements. I had stopped inviting them to smaller ceremonies and awards presentations, anticipating their absence and protecting myself from disappointment. I had learned to celebrate my successes privately or with friends, never expecting my family to share in my pride or accomplishments. The next morning, graduation day, began with a series of text messages from family members and friends. Tyler sent a genuinely supportive message wishing me congratulations and expressing regret about the timing conflict. My parents sent polite but perfunctory graduation wishes, along with reminders that they would be watching the live stream and calling afterward. Ryan Kim, my business partner, texted to confirm our celebration plans for Sunday evening, when we would sign the final paperwork for the tech venture capital investment. Professor Martinez sent encouragement about my speech and reminded me that several potential employers would be in the audience, interested in hiring me for post-graduation consulting work. The contrast between my chosen family's enthusiasm and my biological family's dutiful obligation became even more stark as the morning progressed. Casey helped me prepare for the ceremony, taking photos and sharing in the excitement that my parents should have provided. Jamie Rodriguez, my best friend since freshman orientation, arrived with flowers and insisted on documenting every aspect of the morning for posterity. As I put on my graduation gown and arranged my honor cords, I felt a strange mixture of pride and sadness that seemed to characterize my relationship with my family. I was genuinely excited about graduation and everything it represented for my future, but that excitement was tempered by the familiar ache of celebrating important moments without the people who should have cared most. The graduation ceremony took place in Moby Arena, Colorado State University's basketball stadium, transformed for the occasion with formal decorations and hundreds of folding chairs arranged in precise rows. Families filled the stands, parents and siblings and grandparents all gathered to celebrate their graduates' achievements. The energy in the building was infectious, a collective celebration of academic accomplishment and future potential. I found my assigned seat in the business school section, surrounded by classmates who had become friends and colleagues over 4 years of shared classes and study groups. Many of them spotted their families in the stands and waved excitedly, pointing out parents and siblings who had traveled from across the country to be present for this moment. Sarah Chen, who sat beside me in the alphabetical seating arrangement, leaned over to ask if I could see my family in the crowd. When I explained that they couldn't make it due to a scheduling conflict, her expression shifted to sympathy and confusion. "They're missing your graduation?" she asked, clearly struggling to understand how any parent could prioritize something else over their child's college graduation. "But you're giving a speech as the outstanding business student? This is huge." Her reaction highlighted how abnormal my family's absence was. For most families, college graduation represented one of the most important milestones in their child's life, worthy of travel and schedule adjustments and genuine celebration. The fact that my parents had chosen to prioritize Tyler's soccer tournament over my graduation ceremony was not just disappointing, it was genuinely shocking to people with healthier family dynamics. When my name was called to give my speech as the outstanding business school graduate, I walked to the podium with a mixture of pride and determination. The speech I had prepared focused on innovation, entrepreneurship, and the importance of taking calculated risks to achieve meaningful success. As I spoke about building StreamlineFlow and attracting venture capital investment, I felt a sense of ownership over my achievements that had nothing to do with external validation. The audience responded enthusiastically to my speech, with particular energy from the business school faculty and the venture capital representatives who had come to see me speak. After returning to my seat, several classmates congratulated me on both the speech and the business success I had described.
Their recognition felt genuine and meaningful in a way that my family's distant approval never had. As individual graduates were called to receive their diplomas, I watched families in the stands cheer and take photos, documenting these moments of transition and achievement. When my name was announced, I heard Casey and Jamie cheering from the section where friends and guests were seated, their enthusiasm carrying clearly across the arena. Walking across the stage to receive my diploma, I felt a profound sense of completion and possibility. This moment represented the end of my formal education and the beginning of my career as an entrepreneur and business leader. The piece of paper I received was just a symbol, but it represented 4 years of hard work, intellectual growth, and preparation for the challenges that lay ahead. After the ceremony concluded, I was surrounded by friends and faculty members offering congratulations and asking about my post-graduation plans. Professor Martinez introduced me to several business leaders who were interested in my work with StreamlineFlow and curious about my plans for scaling the company. The networking opportunities and professional connections felt like natural extensions of the academic work I had been doing. My phone buzzed with a call from my parents as I was talking with a potential mentor from the Denver startup community. I excused myself to take the call, expecting their congratulations and acknowledgement of the milestone I had just achieved. "Congratulations, sweetheart." My mother's voice came through clearly, though I could hear crowd noise in the background suggesting they were already at Tyler's tournament. We watched part of the live stream between Tyler's warm-ups. "Your speech was wonderful." Part of the live stream stung more than I had expected. Even their remote attendance at my graduation had been partial and divided, squeezed in around Tyler's tournament schedule. The crowd noise in the background made it clear that their attention was primarily focused on the soccer event rather than our conversation. "Thank you," I said, keeping my voice polite despite my disappointment. The ceremony was really meaningful, and I had great conversations with some potential business mentors afterward. "That's wonderful, honey. Listen, we need to get back to Tyler's game. They're about to start the second half, but we wanted to call and congratulate you. We'll talk more tonight after his tournament finishes." The call lasted less than 3 minutes, interrupted by cheering in the background and my father's voice calling strategic advice to Tyler's team. Their attention was clearly divided, with Tyler's soccer taking priority even during their congratulatory phone call to me. After hanging up, I stood in the arena lobby feeling oddly detached from the celebration happening around me. Families were taking photos, making dinner plans, and extending their graduation celebrations into the evening. My achievement felt somehow incomplete without the family recognition and celebration that seemed automatic for everyone else. Casey appeared beside me with a concerned expression, having noticed my subdued reaction to the phone call. "Everything okay?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already suspected the answer. "They called during halftime of Tyler's game," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral, "congratulated me, and said they'd talk more later." The look of incredulous anger that crossed Casey's face was almost comforting, validating my own feelings about how inadequate my parents' response had been. "They called during halftime," she repeated. "Alex, that's insane. This is your college graduation, not some random Tuesday phone check-in." Her outrage helped me recognize that my parents' behavior was not just disappointing, it was genuinely inappropriate and hurtful. Other families were treating graduation as a full-day celebration with special meals and extended time together recognizing their graduates' achievements. My parents had squeezed in a 3-minute phone call between halves of Tyler's soccer game. That evening, I joined Casey, Jamie, and several other friends for dinner at a nice restaurant near campus, a celebration they had planned to honor my graduation and business success. The conversation flowed easily between reminiscing about college memories and discussing our post-graduation plans. For several hours, I was able to enjoy the recognition and celebration that my family had failed to provide. Late that night, my parents called again with updates about Tyler's tournament. His team had won their semi-final game, advancing to Sunday's championship match against their biggest rival. The University of Denver coach had spoken with Tyler personally after the game, expressing strong interest in his play and confirming that Sunday's championship would be crucial for finalizing a scholarship offer. "We're so excited for him," my mother gushed, her voice carrying genuine enthusiasm and pride. The coach said Tyler's exactly the kind of player they're looking for: leadership on the field and academic excellence off the field. The irony of praising Tyler's academic excellence while skipping my graduation was not lost on me, but I chose not to point it out. Instead, I listened to detailed descriptions of Tyler's performance, the coach's feedback, and their optimism about his scholarship prospects. "How was the rest of your graduation celebration?" my father asked as an afterthought, almost as if he had just remembered that I had also achieved something worth acknowledging that day. "It was nice," I said simply, not elaborating on the dinner with friends or the professional connections I had made. The conversation had already shifted back to Tyler's tournament, and I understood that my graduation had been adequately covered with their brief halftime phone call. After hanging up, I sat in my dorm room surrounded by graduation cards and small gifts from friends, processing the strange mixture of pride and disappointment that had characterized the entire day. I had achieved something genuinely significant, graduating summa cum laude, delivering a speech as the outstanding business student, and preparing to launch a multi-million-dollar company. Yet the people whose recognition I most wanted had been physically and emotionally absent from this milestone. The next morning brought news that would crystallize my understanding of how my family valued different types of achievement, and ultimately lead to a decision that would change our relationship forever. Sunday morning arrived with text updates about Tyler's championship game preparation. My parents sent photos from the hotel breakfast buffet, where Tyler was apparently carb loading for his final performance in front of the University of Denver coaching staff. The messages were cheerful and optimistic, filled with excitement about Tyler's opportunity and confidence about his prospects for success. I spent the morning in my dorm room, packing my belongings and preparing for my move to Denver to begin running StreamlineFlow full-time. The contrast between my solitary preparation for a major life transition and my family's collective excitement about Tyler's soccer game felt symbolic of our relationship dynamics. At noon, I received a call from Ryan Kim with updates about our final investment meeting scheduled for the following week. Tech Venture Capital wanted to expedite the funding process, allowing us to begin hiring additional developers and marketing staff by the end of the month. The timeline meant I would be managing a team of 15 employees and a 7-figure budget before my 22nd birthday. "This is happening so fast," Ryan said, his voice carrying the same mixture of excitement and anxiety I felt about our rapid growth trajectory. "6 months ago we were debugging code in your dorm room, and now we're about to become a real company with real employees and real responsibilities." The business success felt surreal, partly because I was experiencing it without family support or recognition. Most entrepreneurs my age would be sharing these developments with parents who understood their significance and could offer advice or encouragement. Instead, I was navigating this transition alone, learning to trust my own judgment without the safety net of family guidance. That afternoon, I drove to Tyler's championship game, partly out of genuine support for my brother, and partly out of curiosity about the scholarship opportunity that had taken precedence over my graduation. The soccer complex in Colorado Springs was impressive, with multiple fields and professional quality facilities that hosted regional and state tournaments throughout the year. I found my parents in the stands, both wearing Tyler's jersey number and carrying signs with his name. Their enthusiasm was infectious and completely genuine, the kind of unguarded parental pride that I had spent years hoping to inspire with my own achievements. They waved when they saw me, clearly surprised but pleased that I had made the drive to support Tyler. Alex, you came, my mother said, pulling me into a hug that felt warmer and more spontaneous than any interaction we had shared about my graduation. Tyler will be so excited to see you here. The warmth of their welcome highlighted something painful about our family dynamics. They were genuinely happy to see me at Tyler's soccer game, more enthusiastic about my presence here than they had been about my graduation ceremony. Their emotional investment was clearly and consistently directed toward Tyler's athletic career, while my achievements existed in a separate, less important category. Tyler spotted me in the stands during warm-ups and waved enthusiastically, his face lighting up with genuine surprise and pleasure. Despite everything else about our family situation, Tyler and I had maintained a good relationship built on mutual respect and affection. He had never asked to be the favored child, and he genuinely celebrated my successes even when our parents didn't. The game was intense and well played, with both teams demonstrating the skill level that had earned them spots in the state championship. Tyler performed brilliantly, scoring 1 goal and assisting on another in a 3-1 victory that secured his team's state title. The University of Denver coach was indeed present, taking detailed notes and speaking with Tyler's high school coach throughout the game. When the final whistle blew, my parents erupted in celebration along with the rest of the crowd. Tyler's teammates lifted him onto their shoulders, and photographers captured the moment for local sports coverage. The joy and pride on my parents' faces was unmistakable, the kind of genuine celebration that marked truly significant family moments. After the trophy presentation, Tyler jogged over to our section of the stands, still glowing with adrenaline and accomplishment. My parents embraced him with the kind of unrestrained enthusiasm that made their emotional investment completely clear. This was what they had waited for, what they had prioritized above everything else, including my graduation. "Did you see that assist in the second half?" Tyler asked me, still buzzing with excitement. The University of Denver coach told Coach Martinez that was exactly the kind of play they want to see from their midfielders. "You played incredibly well," I told him honestly. "That was a championship-level performance." The University of Denver coach approached our group during the post-game celebration, introducing himself to my parents and expressing strong interest in Tyler's potential. The conversation lasted nearly 20 minutes, covering everything from academic requirements to training schedules to the timeline for finalizing a scholarship offer. "Tyler has exactly the combination of skill and character we're looking for," the coach told my parents. "I'd like to schedule a campus visit next month to discuss the details of our scholarship offer." My parents' excitement was palpable and completely justified. A full scholarship to the University of Denver represented an incredible opportunity for Tyler, potentially worth over $200,000 in tuition, room, and board. The achievement was genuinely worthy of celebration and family pride. However, watching the extended conversation between the coach and my parents, I couldn't help but contrast their engagement with Tyler's opportunity against their response to my venture capital investment. The coach's interest in Tyler generated detailed questions about academic support, career development, and long-term planning. My $2 million business investment had generated polite congratulations and concerns about legal documentation. The drive back to Fort Collins gave me 3 hours to process the events of the weekend and the broader patterns they revealed about my family's priorities. Tyler's scholarship opportunity was significant and deserving of celebration, but it was also hypothetical future success rather than demonstrated achievement. My business investment represented actual, immediate success that would generate substantial income and career opportunities, yet my family's emotional investment was clearly and consistently directed toward Tyler's potential rather than my accomplishments. This preference wasn't based on objective evaluation of our respective achievements, but on deeper patterns of attention and validation that had been established years earlier. That evening, I made a decision that would fundamentally change my relationship with my family and my approach to seeking their validation and support. Instead of calling my parents to rehash Tyler's victory and discuss his scholarship prospects, I spent the evening researching apartment options in Denver and making plans for StreamlineFlow's expansion. Rather than continuing to compete for their attention and recognition, I decided to focus entirely on building my own success and surrounding myself with people who genuinely valued my achievements. The decision felt both liberating and lonely, representing a conscious choice to stop seeking something my family was apparently unable or unwilling to provide, but it also felt necessary for my own emotional well-being and professional development. I couldn't continue to measure my worth by their attention or let their priorities diminish my own sense of accomplishment. Late that night, Tyler called to thank me for attending his championship game and to express regret again about the graduation timing conflict. I know this weekend was really hard with everything happening at the same time, he said, his voice carrying genuine concern for how I was feeling. You played amazingly, I told him. The University of Denver scholarship is an incredible opportunity, and you've earned it through years of hard work and dedication. And Alex, I hope you know that even though Mom and Dad get weird about balancing our stuff, I think what you're doing with your business is really impressive. $2 million is serious money, and you're going to be running a real company. That's awesome. Tyler's recognition meant more to me than our parents' polite congratulations, partly because it came without reservation or qualification. He understood the significance of what I had achieved and could celebrate it without feeling threatened or competitive. I appreciate that, I said, and I'm genuinely excited about your scholarship opportunity. The University of Denver has an excellent program, and you'll thrive there. After hanging up, I realized that Tyler and I had managed to maintain a supportive relationship despite our parents' tendency to create competition between us. We could celebrate each other's successes without feeling diminished by them, something our parents seemed unable to model in their responses
to our achievements. The next morning brought a series of developments that would test my resolve to build independence from my family's validation and ultimately lead to the decision that would define our relationship going forward. Monday morning arrived with an email that would change everything about how I approached my relationship with my family and my expectations for their support and recognition. Ryan and I spent long hours refining our presentation materials and practicing our responses to potential questions from Microsoft's executive team. The preparation process revealed layers of complexity in our software that I hadn't fully appreciated during the development phase. StreamlineFlow wasn't just a productivity tool, it was a comprehensive business intelligence platform that could revolutionize how small companies manage their operations. The Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington, felt like entering a parallel universe where technology and innovation operated on a scale I had never experienced. Ryan and I arrived 2 days early to acclimate ourselves to the environment and fine-tune our presentation based on the specific interests Microsoft had expressed during preliminary conversations. David Chen, the senior product manager who would be leading our evaluation, gave us a tour of Microsoft's Small Business Solutions division. The resources available for product development and market expansion were staggering, representing capabilities that would take StreamlineFlow years to develop independently. Working within Microsoft's infrastructure could accelerate our growth trajectory by decades. Your software addresses pain points we've been trying to solve for months, David explained as we walked through their development laboratories. The integration capabilities you've built are exactly what small businesses need to compete with larger organizations that have dedicated IT departments. The validation from Microsoft's technical team was more meaningful than any family recognition I had ever received. These were experts who understood software development and market dynamics, people whose professional reputations depended on accurately evaluating business opportunities. Their enthusiasm for StreamlineFlow was based on objective analysis rather than personal relationships or social obligations. During our practice sessions, Ryan and I discovered that we worked together with an intuitive understanding that had developed naturally over months of collaboration. He could anticipate my strategic thinking while I could build on his technical insights, creating presentations that were both comprehensive and accessible to non-technical executives. "We make a good team," Ryan observed after a particularly successful practice run. "You handle the business strategy and market positioning while I explain the technical architecture. Microsoft gets to see both sides of what makes StreamlineFlow successful." The partnership we had built felt more supportive and collaborative than many family relationships I had observed. We challenged each other intellectually while providing emotional encouragement during stressful moments. Our shared commitment to StreamlineFlow's success created a foundation of mutual respect that transcended personal competition or jealousy. The actual presentation took place in a conference room overlooking Lake Washington, with floor-to-ceiling windows providing a stunning backdrop for what would become the most important business meeting of my life. 8 Microsoft executives sat around a polished oak table, each representing different aspects of the company's small business strategy. I opened with an overview of StreamlineFlow's development philosophy, explaining how we had prioritized user experience and practical functionality over flashy features that looked impressive but didn't solve real problems. The software had been built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, with every feature tested and refined based on feedback from actual small business owners. Ryan followed with a technical demonstration that showcased StreamlineFlow's integration capabilities and scalability potential. Watching him explain our software's architecture to Microsoft's senior developers, I felt a surge of pride that had nothing to do with external validation. We had built something genuinely valuable, something that could improve how millions of people worked. The questions from Microsoft's team were sophisticated and challenging, covering everything from data security protocols to international expansion strategies. Each question revealed their serious interest in acquiring StreamlineFlow and their confidence in our platform's commercial potential. Sarah Rodriguez, Microsoft's Vice President of Strategic Acquisitions, leaned forward during the final portion of our presentation. "Alex, Ryan, what you've accomplished with limited resources is impressive, but I'm curious about your long-term vision. Where do you see StreamlineFlow in 5 years, and how does that align with Microsoft's small business ecosystem?" The question gave me an opportunity to articulate the broader impact I hoped StreamlineFlow could achieve. "We want to democratize business intelligence," I explained. "Currently, only large corporations can afford sophisticated workflow optimization and data analysis tools. StreamlineFlow makes those capabilities accessible to restaurants, retail stores, consulting firms, and other small businesses that represent the backbone of the American economy." My answer seemed to resonate with the entire room. Several executives nodded approvingly, and I could see them mentally calculating the market implications of what I had described. This wasn't just about acquiring a successful software product, this was about positioning Microsoft as the champion of small business innovation. The meeting concluded with handshakes and expressions of mutual interest, though no specific commitments were made. David Chen walked us to the lobby, explaining that Microsoft's decision-making process typically took several weeks but that our presentation had been very well received. "I can't make any promises," he said as we prepared to leave, "but I can tell you that your software addresses strategic priorities that Microsoft has been discussing for months. The timing of your approach is remarkably aligned with our market expansion goals." Flying back to Denver, Ryan and I processed the magnitude of what we had just experienced. Microsoft's interest in StreamlineFlow validated everything we had believed about our platform's potential, while the acquisition offer represented financial security beyond anything either of us had imagined possible. "Whatever happens with Microsoft," Ryan said as our plane descended toward Denver International Airport, "we've already proven that we can build something significant." That presentation was a masterclass in entrepreneurship, and we delivered it flawlessly. His confidence in our partnership and achievements helped me recognize something important about validation and recognition. The most meaningful feedback came from people who understood the work itself, who could evaluate our accomplishments based on professional expertise rather than personal relationships. Microsoft's interest in StreamlineFlow was more validating than any family celebration could have been because it was based on objective assessment of what we had built. Their potential investment represented recognition from industry leaders who staked their own reputations on identifying promising technologies. Returning to my Denver apartment, I found a stack of mail that had accumulated during my trip to Seattle. Among the bills and promotional materials was a handwritten note from Tyler, congratulating me on graduation and expressing excitement about my business ventures. His message was warm and genuine, acknowledging both my academic achievements and my entrepreneurial success. I know Mom and Dad get weird about balancing our different kinds of success, Tyler had written, but I want you to know that I think what you're building is incredibly impressive. Running a real company at 21 is amazing, and I'm proud to have you as my sister. Tyler's recognition meant more to me than I had expected, partly because it came without any agenda or expectation of reciprocal support. He wasn't trying to maintain family peace or fulfill social obligations, he was simply expressing genuine admiration for what I had accomplished. The contrast between Tyler's authentic enthusiasm and our parents' polite disinterest highlighted something important about the quality of different relationships. Tyler could celebrate my success without feeling threatened or competitive, while our parents seemed unable to fully engage with achievements that fell outside their comfort zone of athletic accomplishments. That evening, I called Tyler to thank him for his note and to hear updates about his University of Denver scholarship negotiations. The conversation flowed easily between our respective achievements and future plans, demonstrating that sibling relationships didn't have to be competitive or comparative. The scholarship is looking really promising, Tyler explained. The coach wants me to visit campus next month to meet the team and discuss their training program. It feels surreal that I might be playing Division I soccer next year. That's incredible, I said, meaning it completely. You've worked so hard for this opportunity, and the University of Denver has an excellent program. You're going to thrive there. Our ability to celebrate each other's successes without reservation showed me what healthy family relationships could look like. Tyler and I had found ways to support each other despite our parents' tendency to create competition between us. After hanging up with Tyler, I realized that I hadn't spoken to my parents since their brief congratulatory call during his championship game halftime. 5 days had passed since my graduation, and they hadn't reached out to ask about my post-graduation plans, my move to Denver, or my business developments. The silence was telling, revealing how little genuine curiosity they had about my life and achievements. If Tyler had graduated and moved to a new city to start a business, they would have called daily to check on his adjustment and offer support. My transition to entrepreneurship was apparently something they expected me to handle independently. Wednesday brought an email from Rebecca Walsh requesting a meeting to discuss Microsoft's preliminary feedback and next steps in the acquisition process. The speed of Microsoft's response suggested serious interest, though Rebecca cautioned that corporate acquisitions often involved complex negotiations that could extend for months. Meeting with Rebecca in Tech Venture Capital's downtown Denver offices, I learned that Microsoft had conducted extensive due diligence on StreamlineFlow's user base, technical architecture, and market positioning. Their internal analysis confirmed our own assessments about the software's growth potential and competitive advantages. Microsoft's interest validates everything we believed about StreamlineFlow's commercial viability, Rebecca explained. But I want you and Ryan to carefully consider whether selling now aligns with your long-term goals. This acquisition offer represents immediate financial security, but maintaining ownership could potentially generate much greater returns over time. The decision between immediate financial security and long-term growth potential required careful analysis of risk tolerance and personal priorities. Selling to Microsoft would eliminate uncertainty while providing resources to pursue other entrepreneurial ventures. Maintaining ownership would preserve control and upside potential while requiring continued investment of time and energy. What's your gut feeling about the right choice? Rebecca asked, leaning back in her leather chair and studying my expression carefully. I think we need to understand Microsoft's vision for StreamlineFlow's development before making any decisions. I said, if they plan to integrate our software into their existing products and maintain our core functionality, the acquisition makes sense. If they want to absorb our technology and discontinue the standalone platform, we should seriously consider maintaining independence. Rebecca nodded approvingly. That's exactly the right question to ask.
Microsoft's intentions for StreamlineFlow's future development will determine whether this acquisition serves your original vision for democratizing business intelligence. Our conversation continued for 2 hours, covering various scenarios and strategic considerations that would influence the final decision. Rebecca's expertise in evaluating technology acquisitions provided valuable perspective on factors that Ryan and I might not have considered independently. Driving home from the meeting, I reflected on how different my life had become in just a few months. 6 months earlier, I had been a college student hoping my family would notice my academic achievements. Now I was negotiating with Microsoft about acquiring my company for $15 million, making decisions that would affect my financial security for decades. The transformation felt simultaneously gradual and sudden, the result of consistent work and strategic thinking that had finally reached critical mass. StreamlineFlow's success wasn't accidental or lucky, it was the predictable result of identifying market needs and developing solutions that addressed real problems. That realization helped me understand something important about achievement and recognition. External validation was most meaningful when it came from people who understood the work itself, who could evaluate accomplishments based on objective criteria rather than personal relationships or social expectations. Microsoft's interest in StreamlineFlow was validating because it represented professional recognition from industry experts who staked their own reputations on identifying valuable technologies. Their potential investment was based on analytical evaluation rather than family loyalty or social obligations. Thursday morning brought the phone call that would crystallize my understanding of my family's priorities and ultimately lead to the decision that would define our relationship going forward. My mother's name appeared on my phone screen just as I was reviewing financial projections for StreamlineFlow's next quarter. "Alex, sweetheart, how are you settling into Denver?" Her voice carried the cheerful brightness she used for casual check-ins, with no particular urgency or deep curiosity about my answer. "I'm doing well," I said, sitting down at my kitchen table and preparing for what I anticipated would be a brief conversation. "The apartment is nice, and I'm enjoying being closer to our business operations." "That's wonderful. Your father and I were just talking about how proud we are of everything you've accomplished. College graduation, starting a business, moving to a new city, it's all very impressive." The praise felt generic and surface level, the kind of acknowledgement that fulfilled parental obligations without demonstrating genuine understanding or engagement. She could have been describing any college graduate's post-graduation transition rather than my specific achievements with StreamlineFlow. "Thank you," I said, waiting to see if she would ask specific questions about my business or express curiosity about my plans. "Actually," my mother continued, her tone shifting slightly, "we're calling because we have some exciting news to share. Tyler heard back from the University of Denver coaching staff, and they're offering him a full scholarship plus additional academic support. The package they're proposing is worth almost $300,000 over 4 years. The enthusiasm in her voice was unmistakable and completely genuine. This was the kind of family news that generated real excitement, the type of achievement that warranted immediate sharing and detailed discussion. Tyler's scholarship represented success that my parents could understand, evaluate, and celebrate without reservation. "That's incredible news," I said, meaning it sincerely, despite my disappointment at the contrast in their engagement levels. "Tyler has worked so hard for this opportunity, and the University of Denver has an excellent soccer program. We're planning a celebration dinner this weekend to honor his achievement," my mother continued. "Nothing too elaborate, just family and a few close friends. You should drive down from Denver if you can make it." The invitation to celebrate Tyler's scholarship success while my own business achievements remained largely unacknowledged felt symbolic of our family dynamics. They were organizing a special dinner to honor his athletic accomplishment, while my venture capital investment and potential Microsoft acquisition had generated only polite congratulations. "I'll check my schedule," I said, though I had already decided not to attend. Participating in Tyler's celebration while my own achievements were overlooked would reinforce the pattern of unequal recognition that had characterized our family relationships for years. Oh, and Alex, my mother added almost as an afterthought, Mrs. Patterson from down the street asked about your little software company. She heard you were doing something with computers and wanted to know if you could help her daughter with a school project. The description of StreamlineFlow as my little software company revealed how fundamentally my parents misunderstood what I had built. They viewed my business as a college hobby rather than a legitimate enterprise that had attracted serious investor interest and generated substantial revenue. More telling was their assumption that my software expertise qualified me to help with a high school student's computer project. They had no understanding of the difference between running a technology company and providing basic computer assistance, reflecting their complete unfamiliarity with my actual work and accomplishments. StreamlineFlow is a business intelligence platform for small companies, I explained patiently. It's not really related to school computer projects. Oh well, I'll let Mrs. Patterson know, my mother said, her tone suggesting that the distinction wasn't particularly important to her understanding. Anyway, we should let you get back to your work. Remember to let us know about Tyler's celebration dinner. The conversation ended with casual goodbyes and promises to talk soon, leaving me sitting at my kitchen table processing the familiar mixture of disappointment and resignation that characterized most interactions with my parents. Their excitement about Tyler's scholarship was genuine and appropriate, representing recognition of an achievement that deserved celebration. However, the contrast between their enthusiasm for his success and their superficial acknowledgement of my business accomplishments revealed priorities that I could no longer pretend to misunderstand. That afternoon, I made a decision that would fundamentally alter my relationship with my family and my approach to seeking their validation and support. Instead of continuing to hope for recognition that might never come, I decided to proceed with my life and career based entirely on my own judgment and the support of people who genuinely understood and valued my work. The decision felt both liberating and final, representing a conscious choice to stop measuring my worth by my family's attention or approval. I had built something significant with StreamlineFlow, attracted serious investor interest, and positioned myself for long-term financial success. Their inability to recognize or celebrate these achievements was their limitation, not my failure. Friday brought the call from David Chen at Microsoft that would validate my decision to prioritize my own judgment over my family's recognition. Microsoft's executive team had completed their evaluation of StreamlineFlow and wanted to schedule final negotiations for the acquisition. Their interest was serious enough to warrant bringing their senior legal team into the discussions. We're prepared to move forward with a formal offer, David explained during our phone conversation. The preliminary terms are $15 million for complete acquisition, plus employment contracts for you and Ryan within our product development division. We'd like to schedule a meeting next week to discuss the details. The magnitude of Microsoft's interest felt surreal, representing validation from industry leaders who understood software development and market dynamics. Their willingness to invest $15 million in StreamlineFlow was based on objective analysis of our platform's capabilities and commercial potential. We're definitely interested in moving forward, I told David, my voice steadier than I felt. Ryan and I will need to review the detailed terms with our legal advisors, but the preliminary offer is very attractive. After hanging up, I called Ryan to share Microsoft's decision and begin planning for the final negotiation phase. His excitement was infectious and completely genuine, reflecting his understanding of what this acquisition would mean for our futures and our ability to pursue other entrepreneurial ventures. $15 million, Ryan repeated, his voice filled with amazement. Alex, we're about to become millionaires at 21 years old. This is going to change everything about how we think about risk and opportunity. His reaction highlighted something that had been missing from my family's response to my achievements. Ryan understood immediately that this level of financial success represented fundamental life security, the freedom to take risks and pursue meaningful work without worrying about basic survival needs. We spent 3 hours on the phone discussing the Microsoft opportunity and planning our negotiation strategy. The conversation was intellectually stimulating and emotionally satisfying in ways that family discussions about achievements had never been. That evening, I faced another decision about whether to share the Microsoft acquisition news with my family. Part of me wanted to call my parents immediately and explain that their daughter was about to sell her company for $15 million, hoping that this level of success might finally generate the recognition and enthusiasm I had been seeking. However, the cautious voice that had developed through years of disappointment suggested waiting. If I shared the Microsoft news immediately, I would never know whether any increased attention from my parents was genuine recognition of my achievements or simply a response to my sudden financial value. Instead, I decided to proceed with the Microsoft negotiations without informing my family, treating this as a final test of whether they could maintain interest in my life and career without the incentive of reflected glory or financial benefit. The decision felt empowering rather than vindictive, representing a choice to prioritize my own emotional well-being over my family's comfort or social status. If they couldn't celebrate my achievements based on their inherent value, I didn't need their validation to feel proud of what I had accomplished. Saturday morning brought a text message from Tyler, asking if I was planning to attend his celebration dinner. His tone was hopeful but understanding, suggesting that he would be disappointed by my absence but wouldn't take it personally. "I know family stuff gets complicated," Tyler wrote, "but it would mean a lot to have you there. Your support has always been important to me, even when Mom and Dad get weird about balancing our different kinds of success." Tyler's acknowledgement of our parents' difficulty with balancing our different kinds of success revealed his awareness of the family dynamics that I had been struggling with for years. He understood that their enthusiasm for his athletic achievements often overshadowed recognition of my academic and business accomplishments. However, his invitation also represented an opportunity to maintain our sibling relationship despite our parents' limitations. Tyler had never asked to be the favored child, and he consistently tried to celebrate my successes even when our parents didn't. After careful consideration, I decided to attend Tyler's celebration dinner, not because I felt obligated to participate in family events, but because I genuinely wanted to support my brother's achievement and maintain our positive relationship. The decision felt different from previous family obligations because it was based on my own values and priorities rather than desperate attempts to win parental recognition. I could celebrate Tyler's scholarship success without feeling diminished by our parents' differential treatment because my self-worth was no longer dependent on their validation. Sunday evening, I drove from Denver to Riverside for Tyler's celebration dinner at Romano's, the Italian restaurant where our family had marked important occasions for years. The familiar setting triggered memories of previous celebrations, most of which had focused on Tyler's athletic achievements with my academic accomplishments, acknowledged briefly if at all. Walking into the restaurant, I was greeted by Tyler's warm hug and genuine enthusiasm about my presence. "I'm so glad you came," he said, his smile reflecting real happiness rather than social obligation. "Wait until you hear about the University of Denver training facilities. They have everything a serious athlete could want." My parents welcomed me with their usual polite affection, though their attention quickly returned to discussing Tyler's scholarship details with the other dinner guests. The conversation flowed easily around topics related to college soccer, athletic training, and Tyler's prospects for professional development. Listening to their animated discussion of Tyler's future, I felt a strange sense of detachment rather than the familiar sting of being overlooked. Their enthusiasm for his success was genuine and appropriate, representing the kind of parental pride that Tyler deserved for his years of hard work and dedication. However, I no longer felt personally diminished by their focus on his achievements, because my self-worth had become independent of their recognition. StreamlineFlow's success and Microsoft's acquisition interest provided validation that was more meaningful than family approval, because it was based on objective evaluation of what I had built. During dinner, Tyler made a point of including me in conversations and asking about my business ventures. His questions were informed and genuinely curious, reflecting real interest in understanding what I had accomplished with StreamlineFlow. Alex has been building this software company that helps small businesses optimize their operations, Tyler explained to one of our father's colleagues who had asked about my post-graduation plans. She's attracted serious investor interest and is negotiating with major technology companies about partnerships. Tyler's description of my work was more accurate and enthusiastic than anything our parents had shared with friends or family members. He understood enough about my business to explain it coherently to others. While our parents still referred to StreamlineFlow as my little computer project, the contrast highlighted something important about recognition and validation. Tyler could celebrate my achievements without feeling threatened or competitive, while our parents seemed unable to fully engage with accomplishments that fell outside their comfort zone of athletic success. After dinner, Tyler walked me to my car and thanked me again for attending his celebration. "I know Mom and Dad don't always get what you're doing with your business," he said, his voice carrying the kind of mature understanding that suggested he had thought seriously about our family dynamics, "but I want you to know that I think what you've built is really impressive. Running a successful company at 21 is incredible, and I'm proud to have you as my sister." His recognition meant more to me than our parents' polite congratulations, partly because it came without any agenda or expectation of reciprocal support. Tyler wasn't trying to maintain family peace or fulfill social obligations, he was simply expressing genuine admiration for what I had accomplished. Driving back to Denver that night, I reflected on how much my perspective had changed over the past few months. Tyler's celebration dinner had been enjoyable and meaningful, not because our parents had finally recognized my achievements, but because I had learned to find validation from sources that truly understood and valued my work. The Microsoft acquisition opportunity, my growing financial independence, and the
professional relationships I had built through StreamlineFlow provided a foundation of self-worth that didn't depend on family approval or recognition. I could participate in family events and maintain positive relationships without needing their validation to feel successful or accomplished. Monday morning brought the email that would finalize the most significant business decision of my life and establish my financial independence in ways that would fundamentally alter my relationship with my family forever. Monday morning brought the email that would finalize the most significant business decision of my life and establish my financial independence in ways that would fundamentally alter my relationship with my family forever. David Chen's message arrived at precisely 9:15, containing Microsoft's final acquisition offer along with detailed employment contracts for Ryan and me. The terms exceeded our most optimistic projections: $18 million for complete ownership of StreamlineFlow, plus 5-year guaranteed positions within Microsoft's innovation division at salaries that rivaled senior executive compensation. I read through the contract documents twice, each page representing security and opportunity beyond anything I had imagined possible when I first started coding in my dorm room. The acquisition would make me financially independent for life, providing resources to pursue any future ventures without worrying about basic survival or family financial support. Ryan arrived at my apartment within an hour of receiving his own copy of Microsoft's offer, his expression oscillating between disbelief and excitement as we reviewed the terms together. The legal documentation was comprehensive and favorable, protecting our interests while providing Microsoft with the ownership structure they needed for integration planning. $18 million, Ryan said, shaking his head slowly as he processed the magnitude of what was happening. "Alex, we're about to become multimillionaires before our 22nd birthdays. This is going to change everything about how we approach risk and opportunity for the rest of our lives." His reaction encapsulated something that had been building in my consciousness throughout the negotiation process. This level of financial success represented more than money. It represented freedom from the conventional constraints that limited most people's choices about career, relationships, and life priorities. We spent the morning with Rebecca Walsh and Tech Venture Capital's legal team, reviewing every aspect of Microsoft's offer and confirming that the terms aligned with our long-term interests. The acquisition structure would allow us to maintain involvement in StreamlineFlow's development while gaining access to Microsoft's resources for scaling and international expansion. This is an exceptional outcome for a first-time entrepreneur, Rebecca observed as we finalized our decision to accept Microsoft's offer. The valuation reflects genuine recognition of what you've built, and the employment terms position you for continued growth within one of the technology industry's most innovative companies. The validation from experienced venture capitalists and Microsoft's executive team provided a level of professional recognition that felt more meaningful than any family approval I had ever received. These were experts who understood software development and market dynamics, people whose careers depended on accurately evaluating business opportunities. By noon, we had signed all necessary paperwork and initiated the formal acquisition process. Microsoft's legal team estimated that final closing would occur within 3 weeks, after completion of due diligence procedures and regulatory approvals. The timeline meant I would be $18 million wealthier before the end of the month. That afternoon, I sat in my Denver apartment, surrounded by boxes from my recent move and official documents that would reshape my entire future, contemplating whether to share this news with my family. The decision felt more complex than simply announcing good news. It represented a choice about what kind of relationship I wanted to maintain with people who had consistently failed to recognize or celebrate my achievements. If I called my parents immediately and explained that Microsoft had acquired StreamlineFlow for $18 million, their reaction would undoubtedly be enthusiastic and supportive. They would want to celebrate, share the news with friends and neighbors, and associate themselves with my sudden financial success. However, that enthusiasm would be motivated primarily by the social status and reflected glory of having a daughter who had achieved such remarkable financial success, rather than genuine recognition of the years of hard work and strategic thinking that had made this outcome possible. More importantly, if I shared the Microsoft news now, I would never know whether my parents were capable of maintaining interest in my life and achievements without the incentive of impressive financial returns to brag about. The timing of my announcement would make it impossible to distinguish between genuine pride and opportunistic association with my success. Instead, I decided to proceed with my life and career without informing my family about the Microsoft acquisition, treating this as a definitive test of whether they could value our relationship independently of external achievements or social recognition. The decision felt empowering rather than vindictive, representing a conscious choice to prioritize my own emotional well-being over my family's comfort or social status. If they couldn't demonstrate interest in my life and accomplishments without the incentive of reflected glory, I didn't need their belated recognition to feel proud of what I had achieved. Wednesday brought a series of phone calls that would crystallize my understanding of my family's priorities and ultimately validate my decision to build independence from their validation and support. My mother called while I was reviewing employment contracts from Microsoft's Human Resources Department, her voice carrying the casual brightness she used for routine family check-ins. "Alex, sweetheart, how are things going with your little business?" she asked, her tone suggesting polite interest rather than genuine curiosity about my work or achievements. The description of my soon-to-be $18 million company as my little business revealed how fundamentally my parents misunderstood what I had built and accomplished. Even after months of venture capital investment and obvious commercial success, they still viewed StreamlineFlow as a college hobby rather than a legitimate enterprise. "Things are going well," I said, choosing not to elaborate on Microsoft's acquisition or the financial implications of what was happening. "We're expanding our operations and exploring new market opportunities." "That's nice, dear. Your father and I were actually calling to let you know about Tyler's latest developments. The University of Denver coaching staff invited him for an official campus visit next month, and they're discussing additional academic scholarships on top of his athletic funding." The enthusiasm in her voice was unmistakable and completely genuine, representing the kind of excited parental pride that I had spent years hoping to inspire with my own achievements. Tyler's scholarship negotiations generated detailed family discussions and careful planning, while my business developments were acknowledged briefly and then forgotten. That's wonderful news for Tyler, I said, meaning it sincerely despite my disappointment at the contrast in their engagement levels. He's worked incredibly hard for these opportunities, and the University of Denver has an excellent program. We're so proud of him, my mother continued, her voice glowing with unrestrained maternal pride. The coach says Tyler has the potential to play professionally after college if he continues developing at his current pace. Imagine having a son who plays Major League Soccer. The excitement about Tyler's hypothetical professional soccer career, while my actual business success remained largely unacknowledged, highlighted something painful about our family dynamics. They could envision and celebrate Tyler's potential future achievements while remaining disengaged from my demonstrated accomplishments. Actually, my mother added, shifting her tone slightly, we wanted to ask if you could contribute something toward Tyler's campus visit expenses. The scholarship covers tuition and housing, but will need to pay for travel and hotel costs for the family trip. The request for financial contribution toward Tyler's recruitment visit, while they had never offered support for my business travel or professional development expenses, felt symbolic of how they viewed my role within the family structure. I was expected to provide practical assistance for Tyler's opportunities while receiving minimal recognition or support for my own achievements. How much are you thinking? I asked, curious about whether they had any awareness of my actual financial situation or earning capacity. Maybe $500, my mother suggested tentatively. We know you're just starting out with your business, so we don't want to put too much financial pressure on you. The assumption that I was just starting out and might struggle to contribute $500 revealed their complete unfamiliarity with StreamlineFlow's revenue and growth trajectory. I was about to receive $18 million from Microsoft, but my parents believed I was operating a small-scale startup that might not generate significant income. I can help with Tyler's visit expenses, I said, deciding not to correct their misconceptions about my financial situation. Send me the details and I'll transfer the money. Thank you so much, Alex. We really appreciate your support for Tyler's opportunities. Family should always help family, especially when someone has a chance to achieve something really special. The phrase achieve something really special applied to Tyler's scholarship visit, but not to my venture capital investment or Microsoft acquisition. Felt like a summary of our family's value system. Athletic achievements were inherently special and worthy of celebration, while business success was practical but not particularly impressive or meaningful. After hanging up, I transferred $2,000 to my parents' account, far more than they had requested but a tiny fraction of what the Microsoft acquisition would soon provide. The gesture felt simultaneously generous and hollow, representing financial support for a family that had never provided equivalent emotional support for my achievements. Thursday afternoon brought a call from Tyler that would highlight the possibility of maintaining positive family relationships despite our parents' limitations and differential treatment. Alex, I heard Mom asked you to help with my campus visit expenses. Tyler's voice carried genuine gratitude mixed with concern about the financial burden they might be placing on me. I really appreciate your support, but I don't want you to stress about money if your business is still getting established. His consideration for my financial situation, even while pursuing his own important opportunities, demonstrated the kind of thoughtful reciprocity that had been missing from my parents' request for contribution. Tyler understood that asking for financial support created obligations and wanted to ensure I felt comfortable with what I was providing. I'm happy to help, I told him honestly. Your scholarship opportunity is incredible, and I want you to have every advantage possible during the recruitment process. Thanks. And Alex, I've been thinking about something, Tyler continued, his tone becoming more serious. I know Mom and Dad get weird about celebrating our different kinds of success, but I want you to know that I think what you're doing with StreamlineFlow is really impressive. His acknowledgement of our parents' difficulty with celebrating our different kinds of success revealed his awareness of the family dynamics that I had been struggling with for years. Tyler understood that their enthusiasm for his athletic achievements often overshadowed recognition of my academic and business accomplishments. I may not understand all the technical stuff about software development, Tyler continued, but I can see that you've built something significant. Having investors interested in your company and working with real business clients, that's entrepreneur-level success. Tyler's recognition of my achievements felt more meaningful than our parents' polite congratulations because it was based on genuine observation and understanding rather than social obligation. He could see the substance of what I had built, even without technical expertise in software development. I appreciate that more than you know, I said, feeling a warmth in our conversation that had been missing from family interactions for months. And I'm genuinely excited about your University of Denver opportunity. You've earned this through years of dedication and hard work. Our ability to celebrate each other's successes without reservation or competition demonstrated that healthy family relationships were possible, even when other family members struggled with recognition and validation. Tyler and I had found ways to support each other despite our parents' tendency to create hierarchy between our achievements. Actually, Tyler said, his voice taking on a more confident tone, I've been wondering if you might want to give me some advice about business stuff. The University of Denver coach mentioned that successful athletes need to think strategically about their careers, kind of like entrepreneurs. His request for business advice represented recognition that my achievements had value beyond financial returns, that the strategic thinking and planning skills I had developed through StreamlineFlow could benefit his own career development. We spent the next hour discussing goal setting, strategic planning, and the importance of building professional relationships that extended beyond immediate teammates and coaches. The conversation felt intellectually stimulating and emotionally satisfying, demonstrating the kind of mutual support that I had always hoped to experience within family relationships. Friday morning brought the final paperwork from Microsoft that would formalize the most significant financial transaction of my life. The acquisition documents were comprehensive and favorable, protecting my interests while providing Microsoft with the operational control they needed for integration planning. Signing the final contracts in Rebecca Walsh's office, surrounded by legal advisors and venture capital representatives, I felt a profound sense of completion and possibility. StreamlineFlow had evolved from a dorm room project into a multi-million-dollar acquisition, validating years of strategic thinking and hard work. Congratulations, Alex, Rebecca said as we completed the paperwork. You've achieved something that most entrepreneurs spend decades working toward. This acquisition represents not just financial success, but professional recognition from industry leaders who understand what you've built. The validation from experienced business professionals felt more substantial than any family approval I had ever received because it was based on objective evaluation of what I had accomplished. Microsoft's willingness to invest $18 million in StreamlineFlow reflected their confidence in my capabilities and the commercial value of what I had created. Walking out of the office building into downtown Denver's bright afternoon sunlight, I felt fundamentally different than I had just hours earlier. The financial security provided by Microsoft's acquisition meant I would never again need to worry about basic survival needs or depend on others for support. More importantly, the professional recognition implicit in such a significant acquisition validated my capabilities and judgment in ways that would influence every future decision about career, relationships, and life priorities. That evening, I sat in my apartment reviewing bank statements that showed Microsoft's acquisition payment had been processed and deposited. The numbers seemed surreal. $18 million represented more money than my family had earned collectively throughout my entire childhood. The financial independence felt liberating rather than overwhelming, providing freedom to make choices based on personal values and long-term goals rather than immediate financial necessities.
I could pursue meaningful work, maintain relationships that added value to my life, and avoid situations that required compromising my principles for practical benefits. Saturday morning brought a text message from my mother asking about my availability for a family dinner the following weekend, ostensibly to celebrate Tyler's successful campus visit and scholarship finalization. "We're planning something special to honor Tyler's achievements," the message read, "and it would mean a lot to have the whole family together for this milestone." The invitation to celebrate Tyler's scholarship success, while my own business achievements remained largely unacknowledged, felt symbolic of our family dynamics. They were organizing another special dinner to recognize his athletic accomplishments, while my venture capital investment and Microsoft acquisition had generated only polite congratulations. However, the invitation also represented an opportunity to test my hypothesis about their priorities and level of genuine interest in my life and achievements. If I attended the dinner without mentioning Microsoft's acquisition, their conversation topics and attention patterns would reveal whether they could maintain engagement with my life independently of impressive financial news. I decided to attend Tyler's celebration dinner, not because I felt obligated to participate in family events, but because I wanted to definitively understand the nature of our relationships and make informed decisions about future engagement. Sunday afternoon, I drove from Denver to Riverside for Tyler's celebration dinner at our parents' house, the familiar route, giving me time to prepare mentally for whatever family dynamics might emerge during the evening. The house on Maple Street looked exactly the same as always, but I felt like I was approaching it as a fundamentally different person than I had been just weeks earlier. The financial independence provided by Microsoft's acquisition meant I no longer needed anything from my family approval, recognition, or support. Tyler greeted me with genuine enthusiasm and immediate updates about his campus visit experience. "The University of Denver facilities are incredible," he said, his excitement infectious and completely authentic. "The training equipment, the academic support programs, even the dormitories, everything is designed to help student athletes succeed." His joy about the scholarship opportunity was warranted and inspiring, representing the fulfillment of years of dedicated training and strategic planning. I felt genuinely happy for his success, and proud of the work ethic and determination that had made this outcome possible. My parents welcomed me with their usual polite affection, though their attention quickly focused on Tyler's scholarship details and campus visit experiences. The conversation flowed easily around topics related to college soccer, academic requirements, and Tyler's prospects for professional development after graduation. Listening to their animated discussion of Tyler's future, I felt the same sense of detachment I had experienced at his previous celebration dinner. Their enthusiasm for his success was genuine and appropriate, but I no longer felt personally diminished by their focus on his achievements. During dinner, my father asked about my business ventures with the kind of polite interest he might show toward a neighbor's hobby. "How are things going with your computer company?" he asked, his tone suggesting casual curiosity rather than genuine engagement. "StreamlineFlow is developing well," I said, choosing my words carefully to test their level of interest. "We've been exploring expansion opportunities and strategic partnerships with larger technology companies." "That sounds promising," my father replied, but his attention had already shifted back to Tyler's scholarship negotiations and campus visit details. The conversation moved on without any follow-up questions about my business developments or strategic planning. The interaction confirmed what I had suspected about their level of genuine curiosity regarding my achievements. They could ask polite questions about my work, but they lacked the sustained interest or enthusiasm that characterized their engagement with Tyler's athletic career. More telling was their assumption that I was still operating a small-scale startup, rather than a company that had attracted significant investor interest and achieved substantial revenue growth. They had no awareness of StreamlineFlow's actual success or commercial trajectory, despite months of development and expansion. After dinner, Tyler pulled me aside to share more details about his University of Denver experience and to ask additional questions about strategic career planning. His enthusiasm for applying business principles to athletic development demonstrated genuine intellectual curiosity and respect for my expertise. The coach talked about thinking long-term and building professional networks, Tyler explained. He said successful athletes need to prepare for careers after sports, just like successful entrepreneurs prepare for their next ventures. His comparison between athletic and entrepreneurial career development showed sophisticated understanding of strategic thinking and planning. Tyler could see connections between our different types of achievements, recognizing that both required similar skills and mindsets. That's exactly right, I told him. Success in any field requires strategic thinking, relationship building, and consistent execution over time. The principles that made you successful in soccer will transfer directly to whatever you pursue after college. Our conversation continued for nearly an hour, covering topics ranging from goal setting to risk management to the importance of building diverse professional networks. Tyler asked thoughtful questions and offered insights that demonstrated genuine engagement with strategic thinking concepts. The contrast between Tyler's sustained interest in my business expertise and our parents' superficial acknowledgement of my achievements highlighted something important about the quality of different relationships. Tyler could recognize and utilize my capabilities without feeling threatened or competitive, while our parents seemed unable to engage meaningfully with accomplishments outside their comfort zone. Driving back to Denver that evening, I reflected on how definitively the dinner had clarified my family's priorities and relationship patterns. Tyler and I had maintained a strong mutually supportive connection that could survive and thrive despite our parents' limitations. However, my parents had demonstrated once again that their emotional investment was primarily directed toward Tyler's athletic career. The realization felt liberating rather than devastating because my self-worth had become independent of their recognition or validation. I could maintain positive relationships with family members who genuinely supported my achievements while establishing appropriate boundaries with those who consistently failed to provide meaningful engagement. Monday morning brought an email from David Chen at Microsoft containing my employment contract details and onboarding timeline for my new position within their innovation division. The role would involve leading strategic partnerships and identifying emerging technologies for potential acquisition, representing exactly the kind of challenging, meaningful work I had hoped to pursue. The employment opportunity felt like a natural extension of my entrepreneurial experience, allowing me to apply the strategic thinking and business development skills I had developed through StreamlineFlow. Microsoft's confidence in my capabilities, demonstrated through both the acquisition and employment offer, provided professional validation that surpassed any family recognition I had ever received. That afternoon, I made a decision that would define my relationship with my family for years to come. Instead of announcing Microsoft's acquisition or seeking their belated recognition of my achievements, I decided to proceed with my life and career based entirely on relationships and opportunities that provided genuine support and meaningful engagement. The choice felt empowering and final, representing a conscious decision to prioritize my own emotional well-being and professional development over family dynamics that had consistently failed to provide the recognition and support I needed. 6 months later, I was settled into my role at Microsoft and working on strategic partnerships that would shape the company's small business solutions for years to come. The work was intellectually challenging and professionally rewarding, providing opportunities to influence technology development at a scale I had never imagined possible. My relationship with Tyler had continued to strengthen, built on mutual respect and genuine support for each other's achievements. He was thriving at the University of Denver, excelling both academically and athletically, while maintaining our regular conversations about career strategy and life planning. My parents remained largely unaware of the magnitude of my professional success, continuing to view my work at Microsoft as a good entry-level position rather than a senior role with significant strategic responsibilities. Their focus remained primarily on Tyler's college soccer career and prospects for professional development. The distance between their perception and my reality felt comfortable rather than frustrating because I had learned to find validation from sources that truly understood and valued my work. My colleagues at Microsoft, the entrepreneurs I mentored through various programs, and the professional networks I had built provided recognition and support that was more meaningful than family approval. Standing in my downtown Denver office, looking out at the Rocky Mountains while reviewing acquisition proposals for emerging technology companies, I felt a profound sense of satisfaction about the path I had chosen. The financial independence provided by StreamlineFlow's acquisition had given me freedom to pursue meaningful work without worrying about external validation or approval. Most importantly, I had learned that the most valuable recognition came from people who understood the work itself, who could evaluate achievements based on professional expertise rather than personal relationships or social obligations. That understanding had freed me to build a life based on my own values and priorities, surrounded by people who genuinely appreciated what I brought to their lives and careers. The journey from seeking family validation to building independent success had been challenging and sometimes painful, but it had ultimately led to a level of personal and professional fulfillment that exceeded anything I had imagined possible when I first started coding StreamlineFlow in my dorm room. As I prepared for my next strategic partnership meeting, I reflected on how different my life had become since graduation day, when my family had chosen Tyler's soccer tournament over my academic achievements. Their absence from that milestone had felt devastating at the time, but it had ultimately taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, that true success comes from within, not from others' recognition or approval. The Microsoft acquisition, my role in strategic partnerships, and the professional relationships I had built all represented achievements that stood independently of family validation. I had learned to measure my worth by my own standards and the recognition of people who truly understood what I had accomplished. That realization had transformed not just my career trajectory, but my entire approach to relationships and life priorities. I no longer needed anyone's permission to feel proud of my achievements, or anyone's recognition to know that my work had value and meaning. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.